Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Can we please get a roll call?
Chris,
Here.
Marita, Sally,
Present.
Jim,
Here.
John,
Here.
Philip,
Here.
Heather.
Okay, do we have any amendments to the agenda for today's meeting? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Master Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any amendment to the minutes from the previous meeting? Hearing none, do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have any public comments that are unrelated to the agenda items for today's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So move.
Second.
Any objections, anything? All right, roll call, please.
Marita, Jim,
Yes.
Philip,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to public hearing items, consideration of an application from Don Hughes, Laura Rose, and Seth McCollum for a replat of lots T1, T1A, T2, T3, T4, T5 of the Tideland addition of ATS 9, lots 8 and lot 9 of block 219, US Survey 2499, lots 8 and 9 of ATS 113, and a portion of the US Survey 1173 located at 1208, 1212, 1216 South Nordic Drive. Do we have a motion? Or wait, do we have any public testimony? Sorry. Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Is this the Creek View?
This is the one that's down by the veterinary clinic.
It's just for scheduling for the next.
No, this is
Gonna be heard
consideration.
Today.
This is to be heard today, yes.
Four.
All right, I move to approve the Creek View subdivision along with the findings and conditions as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? It looks pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, it does.
Just taking several lots, combining them and creating 3 lots
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
that
I
all
think.
meet the criteria.
Yeah. So. All right, no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Chris,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Philip,
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to B on our public hearing items. Recommendation of the Borough Assembly regarding the application from Amber Burrell, Skylark Park LLC to rezone government lot 14 US Survey from public use to single-family mobile home. Do we have any public testimony? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Cindy Lynn. I'm located at 107A Skylark, which is the second house up from Nordic. Let's see, when I investigated this with Liz helping me, this is a big sized lot. It looks like it could accommodate as many as 20 manufactured homes. That could be as many as 46 or more people and possibly as many as 40 or more vehicles. The access is into Skylark Park. And I know it's private property. It was set up as public use initially, something to do with a swap with Ena McGill. But, you know, public use, I know it's Muskeg. Maybe it was meant for storage or a playground or something for all those folks that live up there. The other thing is the impact on all the people that live around there, including myself. That's a lot of vehicles. It's already crazy. And Nordic has doubled in traffic. A lot of building out the road. We just had the approval of the Wesley Avenue with the, let's see, the young man who's doing Napa, and then the machinist shop, that's not far at all. This lot's not far. And Tonka, I originally voted for that. I've never questioned because private property is private property. But I asked Leo, how much will Tonka affect traffic and noise? Oh, it won't affect it. Well, now there's 2 containers on Nordic. They're old and they keep me up all night. There's a bunkhouse across the street that's huge. And also the next door neighbor has a big lot that is multifamily. Okay, I'm asking the commission to please take a break and consider the impact on the people that live around there. This also has to do with traffic. Most of the trees have been cut down. If you stand in my backyard, I swear you're living on Interstate 5, a big part of the day. And it's impacting my quality of life. And it's real sporadic on the zoning. It's like single family here, multifamily there, industrial here. And if it's industrial, apparently they can do whatever they want. I don't understand that. I was on the board for the city of Kirkland, which is huge in Seattle, for almost 2 years, incorporating 3 communities into the city. It has a huge effect on development, especially condensed development on traffic, on the roads, on the sewer and the water and the fire department, the police department. We only have 1 electrician now. We have no licensed plumber that's doing plumbing. And I don't think a lot of thought's being put into this. Plus, there's a big sprawl that's happening. The beauty of Petersburg was always everything was downtown. So the guys on the boats, which there's a lot, could walk into everything they need. Now you need a vehicle to go to the post office even, and now Napa, et cetera. I would ask the commission also to consider, as well as taking a pause, is cleaning up. I mean, we might need a traffic light soon at this rate. There's also a bus stop at the bottom of the hill where 14 children stand there, and that traffic does not slow down. It's just an accident waiting to happen, I think. I've asked the Public Safety Board to address this possibly. And if you add more units, there's more children. I'd ask you to clean up the language on the zoning. It's very confusing. I'd also ask you to have a height restriction on the water, less than 30 feet plus half the value of from the gable to the peak of the building. The language for the zoning is very strange. I thought that the master plan was going to be looked at as far as the sporadicness of zoning. I don't know. I just haven't had time to be educated on that progress. I think that about covers it. The language, the height, the sprawl, the school bus. Oh, the road in front of my house is the city's road. The Skylark is private. A part in front of my house, the city doesn't really maintain that much because it's so short, I think. It's very steep, very icy, very dangerous. We've gone through the stoplight at least once. I mean, in a car I've been in, and in the winter. And we know that snow removal only happens after it stops snowing, kind of, sort of. So it's not a high priority. So if we increase the vehicle traffic, that needs to be considered as well. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Kinsinger, and I'm speaking today as my, I guess my semi-official role as Chair of the Housing Task Force. One of the main recommendations that we made to the borough was to develop an area where we could put manufactured homes on small lots in. And I understand there's a lot of issues. Anytime you do anything with zoning, as you guys are well aware, and I sat up there for 5 years, somebody doesn't like it because guess what? It's in somebody's backyard. And I get it. I wouldn't want somebody doing something in my backyard either. But the thing that this community needs is we need affordable housing. And unfortunately, it costs so much money to develop lots here in the community. And we have a lack of tradespeople that can actually build houses here in town. So one of our best options, if we are looking at dealing with housing problem or whatever you want to call it in town, is a project such as this. The one thing that the borough can do, and you're part of the borough, is change zoning. The other thing that the borough can do is they can make land available. So those are the two things that we can do as a borough to help this problem, unless the borough wants to go out and spend their own money to develop housing. And I don't think that's going to happen, and I wouldn't support that. So I think this is a good idea. I think it needs to be carefully looked at. I think as there is in any development, then particularly when you change zoning, you have to look at it very carefully. You have to look at the impacts. And most important of all, you have to mitigate those impacts. And you can do that when you do that. So take your time on it, but I encourage you to do it.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is Donna Marsh. I represent myself. I reside at 710 Vesta Street and have done so for almost 28 years. When my husband and I first came to Petersburg to married and establish a home and family, we did live in McGill's Trailer Park for almost 6 years and called it home and made it a little tiny piece of paradise. However, when we set our sights on something bigger and more permanent, we selected the land, otherwise known as RB Development, and now Severson Subdivision. We raised our children there. We utilized the space behind and south of our home in this muskeg as a playground for exploration, frog and newt hunting, cross-country skiing, sledding, you name it, we did it, muskeg baseball, the whole 9 yards. We also observed other people and families participating in the same open space area. 12 months out of the year. It's been a marvelous place to be. So the thought of developing, even if it were, and I'm going to use this loosely, the Taj Mahal, I would be reticent to see this zoning change because of the open space being so critical and so close to town. So many people can just go right out in the muskeg and do their activities. Several years ago, Pat McGill petitioned the commission for the exact same thing. The commission denied that, and I would urge you to follow suit today as well. For the housing survey, I have issue with a number of points, but the curious thing is we've been in a housing crisis for almost 40 years. So if a crisis exists for permanency of sorts, then it becomes the norm. That does not say that we need to don't need to work on providing available housing. But what I would propose, a solution, is that this lot presently in question is zoned public use. If you were to go to the south side, I believe that is, of Skylark Park, the Petersburg Borough owns this segment of land, this parcel of land that is zoned for mobile home use. Now, I know after 1979, mobile home became a past term, and it is now manufactured homes, but that would affect few neighbors, whereas the GL 14 affects many neighbors and to the detriment. I would urge the commission to vote against this zoning change, as we have manufactured home zoning already in the layout for the borough. Thank you.
I think now is a perfect time for me to talk. I think you all know me. I'm Amber. My husband and I own Skylark Park, and I'm so glad that Donna brought up that lot next to the graveyard. Here's a little blurb, it's in your packet, of what the borough put out as costs to develop lots. We're looking at between $125,000 and $387,000 for a affordable lot in Petersburg. That's what happens when you find land in the middle of nowhere and you have to try to build roads to it and put in utilities where utilities don't already exist. We have a premium lot to be able to develop. We've proposed to the planning and zoning that didn't make it into this packet to purchase the lots off of Wesley Street, an already established street, which doesn't affect Skylark because I will agree that the definite lack of maintenance on that street. Also, we privately own all the utilities and the road up to Skylark, which we have to maintain. The goal is to put in lots, put in the utilities at our expense to turn around and sell them. So I'm gonna go off with my letter, but I just wanted to comment on Donna's. That's not a viable option. We cannot afford for the same price point to put in lots to that, and there's no access. You can't access it through our trailer park. There's trailer mobile homes that are all through there. So anyway, so we have 26 homes up in McGill's already. We receive calls on a regular basis of people looking for homes because they can't afford to live in Petersburg. As you all know, my husband and I own Rock and Road Construction, and along with everyone else in town, we are struggling to find employees. One of the biggest obstacles is housing. We are very fortunate. We own a trailer park and we own apartments out at the Beachcomber, and we're able to, fit people in here and there. But as we bring in families, those are not viable options anymore. This spring, this engineer's estimate came out of what it's going to cost to develop lots in Petersburg, none of which fall into an affordable category for a median income family. On top of that, you have to put in your utilities, you have to put in your roads, and then you get to build a house. Not affordable at all. At this point, when this estimate came out, we realized that we had the ability to possibly do something. And we moved forward in putting down 50% on a manufactured home. I was hoping it was going to be here today. It gets here next week. They're great. They're 16 feet wide. They've got hardwood cabinets. Long gone are the panel sidings of, years ago. These are nice homes, something that people can be proud of. Next page. Where am I with this? Okay. We are going to put the manufactured home that we have coming into our park, but we have run out of space. We cannot expand to the right where that 5-acre parcel that was supposed to be swapped with McGill's and never happened was. There's nowhere to put a road in through there. It makes sense that we utilize the road that we have to some extent, but as she mentioned, that is not a well-maintained road. You've got the lack of being able to see out of Skylark on that corner. It makes sense that we put in up Wesley Street, purchase those lots, put in utilities in a road that continues Odin up, and do the next expansion of Severson's. Doing this, we want to put 75 by 100-foot lots up there or larger. We've kind of talked to Dave, but I'm not going to spend a lot of money going into platting unless we know we can do something. The thing Donna mentioned about being able to go newt hunting and use the wetlands is there's a 150-foot green belt between our project and any house. As you move up the road, there's a whole 5-acre parcel that is between our proposed project and Severson subdivision. If you live in a subdivision already, that is a lot of land between you and your next neighbors. I've spoken to so many people in this community. Everyone is excited about it until it's in your backyard. And as soon as that happens, all of a sudden, nobody wants it. Everybody else in the whole community is excited about this, with the exception of the people that it directly affects. I understand. We live 48, our lot I think is 48 feet wide. We are on top of our neighbors. This is a much better option for people though. And anyway, I also have 6 people on a waiting list just based off of one Facebook comment that I made saying that I was coming here and trying to get this rezoned and put this new project in. 6 people that have nowhere to live. They've been pre-qualified for housing and they can't find anything.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
5 minutes, time is up.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, We are ready to put our money where our mouths are. We are ready to solve your affordable housing problem. We just need you to give us the okay. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next. Anybody else?
We did have one on the Zoom meeting. Stacy, if you want to state your name.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Stacy McGill, Tongatailoa, and I am the granddaughter of Enid McGill, the original McGills who built the trailer park. And I am hoping that you take the time and consider opposing this. I am maintaining and keeping the house that my grandparents built years ago. I am very unhappy that my dad and my aunt could not get along and manage to keep the park. The park itself has, in my mind, unfortunately become, there's lots of traffic. There always has been, but I recently just left. Unfortunately, I left on Sunday. I wish I would have stayed so I could be there physically. I've managed to pick up 8 bags of garbage that the bears have strung all over my backyard and other places. I did take a walk up to that area where the Burrells would like to rezone, and it's full of more garbage. I consider the area more of a dump zone than anything. I feel that there are children running all over the place. There are animals that are not on leashes. I feel like adding more traffic to an area that doesn't have any, access other than Skylark at this point is just looking for possible accidents where animals are involved, children are involved. The fact that there's no upkeep for the fact, nobody's cleaning anything up. The fact that I'm going around cleaning up my neighbor's garbage when I go up there infrequently. And when I say infrequently, I go up there every couple of months, and my daughters go up there every couple of months, and we alternate. When we go up there and we're cleaning up garbage in our neighbors' areas because we don't want the bears bringing the garbage from the trailers, that's not acceptable. The fact that there are wild cats and dogs, and I say wild because there's not leashes on them, and dogs and cats are in my yard, and I don't mind dogs and cats, but they're coming down from the trailers. That adding more trailers is just adding more problems as far as I'm concerned. I think we're all aware that there's been crime that continues to happen up in the trailer park, and adding more trailers up in an area, I kind of feel like, why aren't we improving on the trailers that are already in that park before adding these manufactured homes on another back street? There are areas that have been developed. What about the Bayview, development where there's nothing in that area? Why aren't we, doing something where, there's lots of areas along Mitkoff that have been added. There are 30 areas that have been for sale on Zillow on Petersburg properties as well as anchor properties. And since 2000, it looks like there's been a 0.05% increase in population in Petersburg. So when we're talking about affordable housing, we're talking about what is the big growth of people that are coming to Petersburg, and what exactly are we trying to, when I was looking at the statistics for what is needed for Petersburg, we're needing to change what kind of, who are we trying to attract to come to Petersburg? Are we trying to attract outsiders, or are we trying to keep the Alaskan people there? I'm somebody that started working in the cannery at age 12 there, back when Chatham existed. I'm one of the original grandchildren who is keeping my home. I don't want to have a bunch of investors. And in the language that the Burrells put, they said they want to have it for the public to purchase. Well, they're talking about putting in their trailer and then maybe having an investor come in and purchasing a trailer that they said you guys can help maybe work out with them. I don't want to have an investor come in, and I also don't want more trees to be cut down. I want to be able to have the nature in my backyard, and I don't want to have any more bears storing garbage all over in my backyard either. I don't want to have anybody else's dogs and cats that I'm feeding because they're skinny coming to my backyard either. I think that it really needs to be taken a step back. There is other land, but also there are other places to live and there are other options for low income housing. And if you look at the statistics on who's needing that public housing, it doesn't have to be at a mobile home park. And there are mobile homes that maybe need to be cleaned up around there. And there are other options for people. And if you look at the breakdown of who's
Excuse me,
needing,
Mr. Chairman, it's 5 minutes, so.
well, thank you for listening and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any further testimony?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Joel Randerup and I'm representing myself and I'm calling in, sorry I can't be there. I'm calling in support of this project and I hope and urge you to vote yes and rezoning it. I think this is a good project. I think any problems that I've heard so far could easily be mitigated by different methods of management of whatever problems are happening with pets or garbage or different things. That's just a neighborhood thing. I think that could be solved fairly easily. I think this is a much better project than what happened recently with the assembly voting to put lots in at Lake Street. This infrastructure is going to support all the homes that are going to be put in and all the lots, and they're going to support it themselves. I believe that's a good way to go versus putting something in a failing infrastructure such as what was Lake Street's going to happen. I know Lake Street's going to be a done deal, but I still don't believe building onto bad infrastructure is the way to go. And the lots aren't going to be anywhere near affordable for people. And I like that they have a waiting list and they're ready to go. And finally, I'd leave you with that. This is also something that they're doing themselves. And I've heard talk around about doing a land trust model or different things here in Petersburg. And I don't believe land trusts are sustainable. They look for handouts. They're going to look for government funding. They're going to look for our borough to fund them. And I don't believe that's the way to go. This seems to be a much better way, more viable option, and does directly affect it. I like the way they laid it out, you know, and comparing with the city plan and everything else. So anyway, I hope you support the project, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi there, I'm Sarah Fine Walsh. We're building a house at 501 Odin Street in Severson subdivision, and I would like to speak in favor of Amber's plan. I think it's just really wonderful to see private enterprise stepping up like this. We've heard a lot over the last year from the Housing Task Force about how the solution to the housing crisis can't come from municipal government. It can be supported by municipal government, but it really has to come from private enterprise stepping up. And that's exactly what Skylark Park LLC is doing. They already own the land. It sounds like there's some kerfuffle over why privately owned land is zoned public use, but regardless, they already own it. And I think their plan is wonderful for manufactured homes. The 2016 comprehensive plan talked about how we need a bunch of homes exactly like this and how it's going to make a huge impact to our community as a whole in really needed sectors. We really need working class housing if we're going to keep the working class working. And I just want to say, voice my support and say thank you to Amber.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no other interest in talking? Discussion.
We do a motion first.
Oh,
All right.
we gotta do a motion first, that's right.
I move to recommend to the Borough Assembly that the Petersburg Borough zoning map be amended by rezoning Government Lot 14, Section 33, Township 58 South, Range 79 East, Copper River Meridian from public use to single family mobile home.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion. So, where's Petersburg going without growth? We need growth. Growth can be painful. It could be supportive. When it comes to growth in Petersburg, I look at the private sector that has helped develop Petersburg. There's McGill's Trailer Court, there's Merifern's Trailer Court, Severson Subdivision, Manish out the road, all private individuals that have spent time and money to help Petersburg grow. We're considering giving up 42 prime lots to the hospital, which I think, affordable housing as opposed to housing that people can, that can afford it. Yes, the cost of building roads and infrastructure is expensive, but that's why we have taxes. That's why I believe in bigger infrastructure and less government. That comes back in the return of housing, taxes on housing. And I think that, it's important that we support projects like this. Majority of the growth in Petersburg in the last 10 years has been out the road. Mental health has sold a tremendous amount of property out there. There's been a lot of development at Manish's in that area, Green Rocks area. The traffic past my house, I've been out there 22 years, is grown exponentially. We never used to have to wait to turn up my road. Now we have to wait constantly for cars going in both directions just to get off the highway. So a lot of growth out that way. I don't know. I support this. I think trailers and that affordable housing is a stepping stone for many, many people. I lived in a trailer for 14 years before I built a home. I know even John Winters, who has lived in a trailer up near the city shop before he built his house. It's just part of growth. That's how we grow. So I'm kind of supportive of the project. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Any other comments?
So I know, I've only almost 4 years over here, so I've, got to know a lot of people, and a lot of people that actually own homes used to live up there in the trailers and stuff, and I find that really interesting, because I actually, 10 years ago, I lived in a trailer. So to me, they're stepping stones, and everybody likes the idea, they just don't want it in their yard. And I understand that, but here you have a private enterprise that's willing to devote their own resources into expanding and taking care of a problem, but you don't want it there, you want it someplace else. Well, it's their money, honestly, that they're spending. It's not government money. They're investing their time and energy, and hopefully, I don't think they've owned it very long, by the way, from what I understand. And so, there's this, my whole thing is that if you don't like it, build a fence. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, because trust me, I've thought about building a fence in my yard. But it isn't just people outside. We have people that have grown up here that have kids that have no place to buy, no place to build, because they don't have the resources to do that. And I've learned how expensive it is just doing a remodel on my house, how expensive it is here. People cannot afford to build their own place, quite simply. And I applaud the fact that they're willing to, expend the resources to do that. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with the previous two speakers. They hit on all the points that I would have hit on. One of the key elements is providing a larger tax base for the borough. That's a big one, and residential lots that people can afford. And like we've heard from the previous testifiers, it's really hard to find somebody to build a home in town for you. And I've seen a little bit of a trend going toward these pre-manufactured homes coming into Petersburg, and I think it's a good way to go. And I'm supportive of this too, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I also am in support of this. I was very pleased to see it was 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths, so a family could be in there, not just a couple. We have a lot of families that are trying to find places. They're squatting with their parents or hanging out somewhere with a bunch of friends, and I think this is exciting. I personally think it's wonderful. I'm just hoping that the separation wall between the 2 units is pretty soundproof. That's my only thing. I don't want to hear my neighbor.
I think Burrells are in a unique situation to be able to easily provide all the utilities and put in the roads properly and do the work that needs to be done to develop property. And I think their plan of talking about coming off of Wesley Street and coming in through that way to provide better access is also excellent. There's good access to utilities in that area, which makes it easy to hook up and provide good lots. I also like the fact they're talking about nice sized lots. We're not talking small postage stamp lots. So this sounds like a good project, and I would say I'm going to be in favor of this. So with that, would you please do the roll call?
Jim,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Philip,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to non-agenda items. Any commissioner comments? Hearing none. Liz, any staff comments?
Just the next meeting is October 10th, and we do have agenda items.
Okay. So next meeting's October 10th at noon. Any idea of if who's going to be here?
Should be here.
I'll be here.
I won't.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Aye.